A lot of people are talking about within the Democratic Party what is going on with President Biden and his candidacy. They see him slipping dramatically, even from when he ran 2.5 years ago. And they say, can he possibly campaign hard and get another 4 years in the White House? And what's at stake if he doesn't? Because the leader on the other side is the feared and anything but revered Donald Trump, who has got about a 40-point lead on the rest of the field if things stay the same way. And then we watched as Nancy Pelosi came out and talked about how Kamala Harris is probably not the good number 2 pick. Same thing with Jamie Raskin, same thing. So people are wondering, talking behind the scenes about Joe Biden's age and Harris's competency. It makes you wonder if people like Gavin Newsom are queuing themselves up to take the mantle rapidly, get a super PAC going, and run in 2024.
Well, you got to figure he wants to run, and he thinks he can win. Unfortunately, the party bosses have said, you know what, Gavin, not your turn. You're going to wait your turn. And that is why when he showed up on CNN yesterday, he said stuff like this about the amazing Biden-Harris administration.
I'm a little old-fashioned. I want a guy who produces results. And the results are in. It's been a masterclass. There's simply no administration in my lifetime that's been more effective producing more substantive results.
She's the best choice.
I mean, by definition, if I think this administration the last 2.5 years has been one of the most outstanding administrations in the last few decades, and she's a member of that administration, she gets to lay and claim credit to a lot of that success. The answer is absolutely.
So James Carville told the New York Times something different. He said voters don't want this, and that's in poll after poll. You can't look at what you look at and not feel some sort of apprehension here. And he's talking about that 67% CNN poll of Democrats saying, we want a different guy or gal.
Yeah.
It just can't be him.
I mean, all the polls are saying that, and that's why the Washington Post, there's an article, and the title is Anxiety Ripples Through the Democratic Party Over Biden. If you read the article, it says voters are concerned about his age and energy. The Democratic lawmakers hesitate to fully endorse Kamala Harris. Prominent commentators are discussing whether he should drop out. It also says there's the impeachment inquiry. Then there's the DOJ indicting his son, Hunter Biden, on these gun charges. And Jim Messina, who ran Barack Obama's campaign in 2012, he says, I'm not going to say that he's fine and that it's going to be easy. He said, but America's split right down the middle. Both parties are going to get 46%, and we're fighting over the rest.
I think a lot of people, more independents than ever before, more undecideds than ever before, and more people are seeing the results. His approval rating has really not hit 40 in many polls. It's below it. The economy, 34%. When it comes to the border, my goodness, it could not be worse. And that hits every city and every state in the country, not just the border states. And we're witnessing it, and it can't stop. And it doesn't look like he's got his hands on the wheel internationally. Does anyone think that he's been effective in supplying money and weapons at a timely rate, even to Ukraine, a war that's rapidly losing, sadly, because it's in, I think, on our American interest, popularity, because he's not getting them what they need when they need it. So wherever you go, from Afghanistan on down, I don't see many wins, even though Gavin Newsom's pretending to see wins in between the smash and grabs taking place in his state.
Yeah, well, so Gavin Newsom, in his heart, I feels like he could replace Joe Biden, replace that ticket, and could win. One of the other things he said to CNN yesterday regarding whether or not he would win.
There he is trying on the White House.
Well, indeed, and it looks good on him, according to him.
Out of town.
He said yesterday, Democrats should stop navel-gazing about Joe Biden and get going. Let's get on the train. This train has left the proverbial station.
The problem that he has, Steve and Brian and Ainsley, you know, the one asset that Joe Biden has always had historically was he was known as the greatest retail politician. Got elected at 30. He could whoa a crowd. You can't put the guy on the road. You can't put him in front of a crowd. He can't go and
don't want him to.
Workers because he can't communicate like he used to.
His time is over.
Sure, he's had his gaffes over the years. Sure, he's been Uncle Joe and said something, but there was this enduring nature about him. Now the American people are hurting, and every time he steps on himself, he could even go to Hawaii.
Peggy Noonan, who endorsed him, she's now saying this would be an historic mistake take if he is continuing to run. NBC even is reporting that the president himself has lamented aloud that he might be dead before his son's case is resolved.
Right, or before David Weiss comes up with a decision. We all might be dead. By the way, the problem with navel gazing, unless you have an innie, there's nothing to see. And that's a story that nobody wants to discuss. The other big story is, in the past, Ronald Reagan ran. He wasn't waiting for the party bosses to say, don't run against Gerald Ford. Ted Kennedy ran. He wasn't waiting for the party boss to say, don't go against Jimmy Carter. Barack Obama ran. He didn't say it's Hillary Clinton's turn. Where's some guts on the left? If it's your time, you're in your 50s, you're in your 60s, you feel like you can do it, get in there. Get your designer shirts on.
Right.
Go in there and just start campaigning. Say you're doing it for the country.
I'll tell you why. Look at Gavin Newsom. He wants the Democratic National Committee. He wants all of them behind him.
He wants the money.
When he does decide to run.
Get it.
Who else do they have? Who else do they really have? Maybe Gretchen, maybe Pete Buttigieg.
Gretchen Whitmer?
Yeah, maybe. But Gavin Newsom looks the part.
He does.
He's been in politics for a long time.
All those people you listed that are worried would jump to, or at least half of them would jump to the guy with the gel, or the woman who thinks she's got a future, or the billionaire who's pretending to run Illinois. Whoever you want, whoever sees themselves as a candidate, if Joe Biden wasn't in, if they were to jump in, they would divide this.
Brian, it's a good point, but I think in his defense, you don't want a DeSantis situation.
Yeah,
remember
you
everyone
don't want to
saying,
be the divider.
hey, be the guy, let's go do it.
Yeah.
All these people, and then you're tanking the poll.
Yeah, you don't want to make everyone mad in your party, and then they don't support you later.
Right. And then, God forbid, then you lose, then everybody goes,
then you're done.
You lost the White House.
Like Reagan lost to Ford, didn't hurt him, got 8 years after that. I would bring up something else. The problem with Joe Biden is not just his policies, which are terrible. It is he is failing. He is physically not able to do it. And if you have a press conference and you go, like, listen, this is my time. I don't feel as though this president with 38% approval rating has the wherewithal at 80 years old, let alone 86, to run the country. Well, I want to go take on Donald Trump.
What is different about this situation is Joe Biden is the incumbent, and he could have 4 more years in the tank. And that's why we are at this perilous, a fork in the road for the Democrats. And the other problem for Joe Biden is his communications team has got him on such a short leash.
Yeah.
Last week,
we keep saying it.
When they said, if I say anything else, I'm going to get in trouble. Exactly. They don't
Easter
want
Bunny
him to
will
make
come and
any
stop him.
mistakes.
What a bold leader.
I know.
I'm afraid of my 28-year-old communications director.
Unbelievable.
I know, he's the commander in chief.
Right, oh yeah. Look out, Iran.
So anyway.
Remember the White House Easter roll, the
Easter Bunny.
communication, right?
Mr. President,
stop talking,
be quiet.
Mr. President.
You're done.
It's not about justice. It's not about agenda. It's not about mobilizing people. It's about dialing for corporate dollars. These two parties have sold the U.S. government and the American people to the highest bidders.